Hi guys, welcome to another iOS tutorial from Confidence Labs, and in this tutorial we will be learning the concept of property wrappers. Property wrappers were introduced in Swift 5.0 and today we will see how powerful property wrappers are with the help of few really useful examples. So the first example is quite a common situation. Sometimes we need to show the price of an item as a text in our application. Price of an item is represented by a number, so we use int or double type of data types to store the price value. But usually when we display the price on a screen, we need to prefix it with the currency. And for that, we used to concatenate the price with the currency, and we have to do this concatenation at every place where we need to display the price. So to avoid this situation, we will write a property wrapper over this price property. And then we just need to display the price like this, and it will display the price with currency same as the above code do. Now let's move to the second example, and it's very useful. We all use user defaults to store user settings, and for that we code something like this. In the if condition, we are trying to fetch a value corresponding to first launch key, and if it's not there, then in the else condition we are setting it to true. In this second scenario, we will write a property wrapper over user defaults to set and get values stored in user defaults normally, like we do with other Swift properties. After implementing this property wrapper, our code will look something like this. This is first launch property actually representing a value stored in user defaults. And below, in if else condition, you can see I'm getting and setting this property normally as we do with other Swift properties. So these are the two property wrappers that we are going to implement today. So let's start our implementation right now. So I'll be using Playground to implement those property wrappers. We'll start with that currency prefix property wrapper, and let's name it prefixer. To make it a property wrapper, we will write at the rate property wrapper over its declaration. Every property wrapper has a property called wrapped value, and let's make a initializer default value, and let the default value be 0. Oh, let's set this wrapped value equal to the default value. Now let's create another class which will use this property wrapper. A product must have a name of type string, and a product must also have its price type int, and this product will be backed by our property wrapper prefixer. Looks good. Let's create the initializer as well for this. Name and price integer. We are good with this product class. Now let's create an item is equal to product dot, let's name be a book, and let it price be 22. So if I'll print its price, item dot price, let's run and see. So it is simply showing me the int value 22, but we want to prefix it with the currency. Let's add the prefix property here in our property wrapper, where let's name it prefix of type optional, because one can choose not to have the prefix as well. So let it be string optional equals to nil. We have provided it default value nil. Let's assign it to the prefix. One thing that we all must know about the property wrapper very clearly is that if a property is being backed by a property wrapper, and whenever we set or get this property, we are actually setting and getting this wrapped value. Okay, so you can see we have invoked the initializer with price equal to 22, and then this price is assigned to this price property here. So we are setting 22 to this price property. Actually we are setting this wrapped value to be 22. Okay, so again I'm repeating, if we are setting or getting a property being backed by a property wrapper, we are actually setting and getting this wrapped value property. So we have another interesting property in our property wrapper known as projected value. Let's make it string type, and for now let's give it a value, random value, let's say ABC. Okay, so as I told you, if I'll try to access a property wrapper, I will actually get the value of this wrapped value. But if I will append a dollar with the name of property wrapper, I will actually get the value of this projected value. So let's run. It should give me the value of this projected value, that is ABC. I did print the projected value when we have used the dollar sign with the property wrapper name. So let's implement this projected value to append the prefix with the price value. So first I will use a guard statement to check if prefix is nil or not. So if prefix is nil, then I will simply return the price value, and if it's not nil, I will append the prefix before the price value, which is wrapped value. I'll just add a space and we are good to go. We just need to add a prefix here, prefix, and let the prefix be a euro, and let the default value be 0. So all looks good. We can yeah, default value is already 0, so I can escape this as well. All looks good. Let's run it. So it did printed the currency as a prefix and then the value of the price, which is 22, passed here. So it is very convenient. We can change the prefix anytime we want. We can use rupees as a prefix or any currency prefix that we want. We can also make it generic as well. So let's do that. And we'll make this wrapped value generic. We will make it generic, and here we need to pass the default value as well. So the default value would be 0 here. All looks good now. So now the price is not bound to the integer type. The price can be double or float, whatever the requirement of the application. We have made this prefix as generic. One more improvement we can do is we can remove this no, we can not remove this. We can ignore this argument labels, and now we don't even need to write this argument names here. We can simply do like this. Let's run it again. We have replaced the prefix with rupees. Let's see if it's going to reflect here or not. Yes, it does reflect here. So we are done with our first example here. Let's move to our second example, which is much useful one. We are in second example, we are going to write a property wrapper over user defaults, and you can use this prefixer property wrapper anywhere in your application you want. So let's create another playground page. User setting, let's name it, and let me try to cheat a bit from here. Let's copy this, let's paste it here. Let's change its name, user setting. So in this example we know we are writing a wrapper over user defaults. So let's create an, we don't need prefix here, and we don't even need this projected value, so let's delete both of them. Let's delete this as well and this as well. Okay, so now so let's create an object of user defaults. Let's name it defaults for now, and user defaults dot standard. Okay, and to save anything to the user defaults we need to have a key. So let's have a key here of type string. We also need to have a default value. If the value is not present in the user default, we can return this default value as well. Everything looks good. Default value, we need to get key from the user. Self.key key looks good, and don't need to set this here. Let's implement the wrapped value here. So inside wrapped value we will implement its setter and getter. So if someone try to set the value of this property wrapper, we will write it in the user defaults. So we already have the object of user defaults set. We will use set any, and inside that we will set the new value for key, this key, and whenever someone try to get the value of this property wrapper, we will fetch the object for key. We already have the key, and if the object is nil, we will return the default value. Superb. Not superb. We just need to typecast it here as not T, the generic type. So we are done here. I'll show you how to use it. Let's create a class. Let's say ABC, my favorite class, and I'll show you how you can create the property of this user setting. User setting where anything is notification enabled boolean, and you have to give the key. Let's the key be the same as the property name, default value be false. False. So this is notification enable property, actually representing a value stored in user defaults, and it is very easy to update it as well. I'll show you. You just need to set it to some other value, and it will be automatically stored in user default again. So how? Because when we are setting it, we are actually setting the wrapped value, as I told you thousands of times. And when we set it, its setter will be invoked, and inside its setter we are setting this new value in the user defaults. Now I'll show you how I'm using this user setting property wrapper in my own real world application. So let's go. So this is my application. Here I'm using that same user setting property wrapper to get and set the value from and to user defaults. So this is a property is notification enabled, and this is my application. So here I have a setting to enable and disable notification. So once user enable or disable it, I save it the setting in user default, and whenever the user enable or disable it, I'll simply update this property, and this property update the user defaults value. So you can see here I just simply update this property based on the switch value, like we normally update any other switch property, and it will automatically update the user default value. So that's all for this tutorial. I hope you have learned something in this tutorial. I would recommend you to watch my recent tutorials on the topic generic multi-delegate pattern and dependency container. So that's all for this tutorial. Bye bye. See you in the next tutorial.